Hello friends, welcome back. This is John in the United Kingdom broadcasting to Elton John fans throughout the world. Now there's big news breaking over the past few days that we're going to get a 50th anniversary of Honky Chateau, one of Elton John's finest albums from that golden period in the early 1970s. Now, before we go any further, let's just locate this album in Elton John's discography. And we have a classic run of albums, starting with the Elton John self-titled album, followed by the wonderful Tumbleweed Connection. Then we had Madman Across the Water, which has already celebrated its 50th anniversary. Then this one, Honky Chateau. Then we had Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Caribou, and Captain Fantastic. And probably that run of albums is as good, I would suggest, as any artist in the 20th century in popular music. Now, I've reviewed all of Elton John's albums already, and you can follow those links and watch those videos yourself. For me, Honky Chateau was a very fine album indeed. It just wasn't quite as good as some of the others that surrounded it. And I would single out Tumbleweed Connection as my favourite ever Elton John album, Madman Across the Water, Don't Shoot Me, and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. All of those I think are absolutely fantastic. This one was very good, but perhaps just not quite as consistent as those others. Of course, you may have different views on that. So what's happening with this anniversary? Well, on March the 24th, you're going to have a choice of different merchandise to choose from to mark this anniversary. There's going to be a double CD, and I'm going to look in a moment at what we're going to get on that double CD. There's also going to be a 2 LP vinyl, which is not quite going to have as much as the double CD, but should still be worth looking at. And there's also going to be a gold pressing of the vinyl of the original album. Now, with those, we're being offered a 40-page booklet, including some exclusive pictures and an essay about how the album came together. So there's lots of new material being made available here. Now, the one I'm most interested in is the 2 CD, the double CD issue here. And let's have a look and see what we're getting on that. We're getting the original album, which has got 10 tracks on it. Well, there's no indication that they're being remastered, so it might just be the original 10 there. Then we're getting some demos. Now, this is interesting because as far as I know, these haven't seen the light of day before. They've been specially remixed for this reissue. Now, there are 9 demos altogether. So there's 2 songs that are missed out, and those are Amy and Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters. But we're getting 2 demos of the track Slave. Now, Elton Johnologists will know that there have always been 2 versions of Slave, a slower one and a faster one. He's done this before, of course, and the one that comes to mind is Where Have All the Good Times Gone from Jump Up, which was recorded at 2 different speeds as well. So you've got a choice there. So in fact, you're going to get 3 Slaves altogether. You're going to get the original one on the album, and then you're going to get 2 differently paced demo versions of that. Well, I suppose one of them became, an official alternative, if you like. Now, the other thing we're getting on here is a session from the Royal Festival Hall on February the 5th, 1972. Now, this is significant because this was the first time Elton played these songs live. In particular, it was the first time he played Rocket Man live. And that's going to be really interesting to listen to because, of course, he's played that hundreds, maybe thousands of times since. One of his finest songs ever. So we've got 8 tracks from this live session, or live concert, I should say, really. The 2 we don't get are I Think I'm Going to Kill Myself and Slave. Those are missed out from that live concert. Now, as little tasters, the Elton John headquarters have put out 2 tracks already to whet our appetites, and that is that original Rocket Man performance from the Royal Festival Hall. So we've got that out there already, and we've also got the demo version of Mellow. So I'll link to those as well, see what you think to them. The demo versions are really interesting, I think, because you hear kind of, the genesis of these songs. They're not quite complete, but they're almost there. So you see some great introductory piano playing from Elton on that one. Then it kind of, there's a bit of a hiatus, and then they restart, and then he goes into that track. So, you know, Elton fans are going to be very interested in these. And new people to these albums, I think a good way of listening to them, and I was doing this quite recently with the Beatles because I was new to the White Album, unbelievably. I was listening to the demos first, and listen to the demo of the song, and then you listen to the final version, and it's actually really rewarding to see how that song has transitioned to its complete performance, and how the band and the artist actually really wanted it. Now, a nice little snippet from Elton that's done the rounds of some of the websites is some memories of the recording session at the Chateau de Rouviers, or something like that. Pardon my French, but it's near Paris. Apparently, Elton arrived there on the first day. He went down and sat at the piano, and unbelievably, he wrote Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters, Amy, and Rocket Man. And he'd written those before the band had even got up. So, you know, three fine tracks. I would say two absolute classics in Mona Lisa's and Rocket Man. Amy's pretty good as well. So they were almost finished before the band had even picked up an instrument. Now, Rolling Stone magazine have this down as one of the 500 greatest albums of all time. I'm not sure I would put it in there, because I would put a lot of the other albums from the 70s in that bracket. But this is still pretty good. I'm just going to briefly go through track by track. I've already rated these on the video I did. And we open up with Honky Cat, which has never been one of my favourite Elton tracks. I was put off actually by that live performance of it that I heard once, where they had a duck whistle going on as one of the percussion in the background. And I just thought it just slightly cheapened the song there. However, I did hear that fantastic country and western cover of Honky Cat by Leon Womack on the Restoration album, and that is really good, and it kind of made me look at that song a little bit more and enjoy it more. So it's one of those cases where a cover version makes you think again about the original. We've then got the song Mellow, and that's the demo that's been released, which I like the verse of. I'm not that keen on the refrain. I think it just loses a little bit. Some great piano to start with. It's quite good, perhaps not a favourite. Then we've got I Think I'm Going to Kill Myself, which is kind of a almost a comic song in a way. Susie Dramas is okay. Again, perhaps not a classic. And then we get into Rocket Man, and what can we say about that other than it's a song that's lasted 50 years and people still know it. On the B side, we've got Salvation, which I think is a classy song. Always enjoy listening to that. Slave, and you've got your two versions of that. I tend to feel that the fast version is a little bit too fast on that. Amy is quite a pleasant track. Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters is one of Bernie Taupin's finest lyrics, and it's got this sort of majestic setting from Elton, and I just really wish he would play that song more live, because it's such a beautiful song, and it's kind of just a reflection on life in New York City, the type of people they were seeing, kind of the mood of the place. It's very atmospheric. And then it finishes with Hercules, which again, you know, is okay. It's an enjoyable song, perhaps not a classic. So, you know, for me on here, there's two or three excellent tracks. There's quite a few which are pleasant, and a couple, you know, which I perhaps wouldn't go back to that much. Having said that, it's a landmark album, isn't it? It's an important time. So I'm certainly going to be looking at getting this 2 CD set to get these demo versions and these live versions. Now, how are they priced? Well, over here in the UK, it's about £13 for the 2 CDs. That's not bad at all for a new issue. £32 for the vinyl, again, 2 LPs. That's quite reasonable, although you don't get all the tracks there, of course. So you know, those sort of prices are, you know, pretty fair in terms of these special souvenir editions. So that's just a brief introduction on that. What are your thoughts about Honky Chateau? How do you think that fits in with Elton's other albums? What's your favourite track on this, and what are your thoughts about this anniversary? What are you most looking forward to hearing on these demos and these live versions? Anyway, that's it from me. Of course, I'm going to be back when it actually is issued, and I'll be looking in detail at each of the tracks we get. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, we're still standing.